Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the fifth episode of the Plan the Parade podcast. And it's a tough one. It's a tough.
Plans are on hold, Dave.
Everything is on hold. I
don't know. If there's no champion crowned, that means we are champions.
We are not champions.
Exactly. If somebody says you didn't win, you can be like,
No
who
one
did
else.
then?
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be like, nobody else did, so we won.
The Raptors did not defend their NBA championship.
Oh, they did though.
Back to back,
Successfully.
Well,
Everybody was so scared to play them that they just gave up on the season.
Yep.
well, as you can tell, those voices. We'll start with Austin Owens in Pickering, Ontario, who is. Where did you go tonight?
To the realm of Durham. I was just out and about. I didn't go anywhere exciting. Just around the corner.
I was gonna say there's nothing exciting left open considering.
It's Pickering. There's nothing exciting in Pickering. There's a bus route and a mall, and that's about it. But I love it.
Mr. Jacob Middleton, who got in some trouble with the police down in New Jersey. Jake, what in the world is going on?
Nothing. Just going a little, having a little, what's it called? Cabin fever, right? Where you just so much isolation, where you're kind of just longing for anything. I tried to go out earlier in the morning and just by myself shoot some free throws, and the second I did that, I got the police called on me by someone, and they told me that I couldn't shoot free throws by myself with nobody else around.
Is there a quarantine?
I don't know. It was a little crazy. There is a quarantine in New Jersey. It's a state of emergency. We have a curfew that's 8 p.m.
What time did you do all this?
What?
What time did you go out?
It was like 9:30 in the morning.
Freaking
Then when I went for like a little walk to see if anybody was back, I saw that there was police tape up and a sign. So, I mean, I know it's like serious, but I mean, even just going up and shooting free throws by myself is a casualty. It's gonna be a long wait until this is over with. I mean, hopefully people are doing exactly what we're doing, which is pretty much the easiest thing ever, which is sitting on your ass doing nothing. But it does get boring. I mean,
I hope it's this is really this last few weeks, even like really it's been since that Wednesday where the NBA shut everything down.
Oh, everything's been downhill since that Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, well then like college basketball started getting canceled. And I was just like, wow, this is it. Like I thought they were gonna play the NCAA tournament with no fans, which would have been bad, but not this bad. But I'm just thankful that the NFL has given us literally anything to talk about, any news. Like I find myself paying attention to free agency like 10 times more serious than before. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, most people might or might not know I'm a Jets fan. So the fact that people are upset that like top 15 guards in the league aren't signing with the Jets, people are going insane. I mean, they had a center, relatively unknown center they signed, and it was like they signed Tom Brady in his prime. I mean, it was crazy. So I'm not the only one that's being affected, but I'm just happy that they've given us anything. It's like getting a drug addict, just giving them a little taste so they don't go crazy.
You gotta get ready for the draft.
Yeah. I just need a little taste to get me there.
It's funny because a lot of people have asked me, like, what am I doing throughout all this? And I mean, I was in the office until Sunday, and I'm most likely now working from home for my next couple of shifts. Like, there's still news. Like, honestly, free agency, I think, gives us that escape of, thank God we have something to talk about other than this virus, and which might sound a little selfish, but if you're someone in my position who's written dozens of stories a night on everything going on with this virus, being able to talk about free agency in the NFL, which ironically enough, I wasn't working today, so I didn't get a chance to even write about any of that. The only thing I have done recently was the Tom Brady initial report that the Patriots weren't close to a deal. And now he is no longer a member of the New England Patriots. So if you could tell, usually we talk Leafs. That's not going to be until later on. We got to talk about the biggest
What's
story in
the
sports,
only
right?
thing we can? What has even happened with the Leafs since the league shut down? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
I'm waiting
nothing
for
to even touch.
I'm waiting for some sort of news that someone's tested positive because the Ottawa Senators player just tested.
I
It's
mean,
get to that point.
whatever. I mean,
Why not?
Eli
I'm
Mikheyev's
hoping.
gonna get some from soup. I don't really know. We don't seem like a team that's gonna really have trouble with Corona. But you never know.
Well, I was kind of concerned with the Raptors and considering it, but
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's the only thing. But from what I understand, it's been pretty serious lockdown. I mean, Chris Boucher, didn't he get groceries and he had to have like a
Yeah.
2-page apology? I was like, I thought he got arrested or something.
Yeah.
And then it
he
was
got
just like, then he was like, I bought some takeout. It's like, oh my god. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's just goes to show you the severity of the issue at hand and how
Mhm.
serious they're taking it. I mean, some guys are dealing with it better than others. I mean, you've seen some guys like John Morant, who's done the intros and his stuff. Trey Young doing the 3-point contest with socks. Serge Ibaka doing the "How bored are you" workouts. I mean, it's
who's
been pretty
that?
funny to
Who's
see
that
the
from the Phillies?
creativity of someone. Say it again.
Who's that player on the Phillies that did the video of him dribbling a basketball through his apartment or condo, and he's got like it's hardwood floor, so this floor is slippery every time he like slides on his socks. I don't know who it
Was
was.
it the only one I know that's really popular in the Phillies is McCutcheon's really active on social media, but I don't know if it was him.
Sorry, not the Phillies, the Sixers. What am I talking about?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, because I was thinking of McCutcheon because somebody
Tobias
did a video.
Harris or something. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Let me see if I can find it. It was
Bryce
actually
Harper.
no, I don't think
He's
Bryce
still
Harper.
licking his wounds from last season.
Well, his money would suggest otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, oh well.
Um, dang.
Wiped away with his 300 million. I don't really care.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has more enough reason to.
Not care.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. It was posted on Sportsnet. Our social people, I'll give them a lot of credit. They've had to try to find something throughout all this.
Give credit to a lot of sports media companies for just staying active at this point. It's not easy.
Well, it's yeah, like people think that they're like you look at the places that are being impacted. Like sports is the biggest one because games just mean so much. Athletes, especially, like not having even access to talk to athletes too during this time, really, unless you call them, and I don't think many are going to be calling them.
Yeah,
It was
it's a weird time. Like I could speak to personal because I'm
oh my.
obviously looking for a league. It's weird.
Okay, Jake, his he's number 22 on the Sixers. Mattis
Oh, Tybull.
Oh,
Thybulle.
He
Matisse
started a TikTok
Thybulle.
as well.
There you go. Yeah, he did it on his TikTok.
He's really good. He get TikTok video. He's in his own house.
Oh, we had a
So
little.
Yeah,
if the
I like
basketball thing ever
Matisse
falls through,
Thybulle. I didn't.
Oh, just also people. If we have a little lag, sorry, we are doing this remotely, so
am I lagging?
you lag just a little bit on there. But why don't
Man,
you can't exactly get everyone all together when Jake's down in the States. And now we are at a point, people, where the borders are being closed.
We're not going to see Jake for like ever again.
Forever.
Yeah, this is goodbye. GG's.
All right, so the big news pretty much was Tom Brady signing with the Tampa. Well, not officially signing with the Tampa Buccaneers, but it's as official as you're gonna get. Like, I was waiting for the Schefter tweet, and Jake, as a Jets fan, pretty glorious day for you guys.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, for me, it wasn't more. It was more of it was less about the player leaving. I mean, he was kind of last year probably slightly above average or league average player, but it's more just like the representative of like what he represents, which is just a guy that has just fucking destroyed my squad for 20 years. And it's ironic because a Jet is why he played. I mean, if you don't know, Mo Lewis knocked out Drew Bledsoe, I think with a shoulder injury or a concussion, and then Brady came in and played, and then the rest is history. I mean, for me, I just wanted him to get the hell out of New England. I've just enjoyed seeing the reaction from certain fans, and I mean, I'm sure there's some people who are actually somehow excited that they're moving past it, but some have just it's been pretty laughable seeing some of the takes that have come after it. So,
Well, Jake,
I
you
don't know,
just
couldn't have.
it's
Say
like
it again.
What, 18 seasons he's been in New England.
20.
20.
20.
This is, for a lot of people, this is the only quarterback they've ever known. Like, as a Cowboys
Yeah.
fan, I've had Romo. I've had God knows, worse than Romo with like Brandon Whedon.
Buddy, you don't even start.
Yeah, don't even talk.
Hey.
Get the hell out of here.
Your team has been to more Super Bowls recently, Austin, than the Cowboys since they last won.
Talk to me when you have to watch Nick Mullins play quarterback for 6 weeks.
I've watched Greg McElroy play
quarterback.
Jake had to watch Nick Folk play quarterback on purpose.
Nick Folk? You mean
or not Nick Folk? He's the fucking
Falk?
Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, Falk.
Whoever the third stringer was after everybody got injured in that one game this year.
That was
that in
awful.
That game we went to?
Yeah, it was. Luke Falk, that's it.
Luke Falk, thank you. I'm thinking of Nick Folk, who does play for the Patriots. Or did.
Did I remember telling you the story of how like the whole thing unraveled? So we do a football trip every year, a group of us driving down to New York. So, like my brother's friend is so pumped to watch the Jets because like it's like, you know, Monday Night Football. He's a big Jets fan. We're not even halfway down. He gets a notification.
Oh, is it the mono?
Sam Darnold has mono. Will not play. Luke Falk will play. Or no, it wasn't Luke Falk at first. Who was the?
It was Trevor Siemian.
Yes.
Trevor Siemian that broke his leg.
Broke his leg on
yeah.
game. And then it's Luke Falk. I just looked beside. I've never seen a guy so crushed. Like, I know Jets fans have been through quite a bit the last few years. That might have I felt I legit had pity on him.
I mean, probably paid a ton of money to go to that game. I mean, especially if you didn't buy them right before that.
So we didn't get gouged. So we were
no, it was just such like a typical Jets move. It's just like, oh fucking hell. Our young star quarterback gets the most ridiculous injury I've ever seen in professional sports. Like mononucleosis is for like 17-year-old boys.
Pretty much.
And it's I couldn't believe it when I remember when it got announced on like ESPN. I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, he'll be at a month, reevaluated in a month." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Well, and you hear how bad it is because you know he basically lost a lot of weight.
There's your leaflet.
Yeah, it's like really dangerous. I think it increases the size, it swells up your internal organs like your liver and
was the big
pancreas and stuff like that, like 35%. Yeah, that was the big thing. That was why he couldn't play. But I mean, he's just like, come on, man. I wish he like broke his arm in a car accident or something. It would just be less embarrassing. But I don't know. Hopefully he's past it. But yeah, I've seen some shit. These guys have seen some shitty ass quarterbacks.
So now that Tom Brady is gone, what happens? Like in the AFC East, like the
They're
Bills,
done.
I
Like,
mean,
I
if
know,
we're
like-
going by the Patriots, I'm sure Jared Stidham throws for like 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns this year or some BS.
No way. He's awful. I watched him play against the Jets, like second string defense, and he threw 2 picks on like 4 passes. He
Yeah.
is terrible.
The Pats are gonna take a downgrade. I don't know what they're gonna. I still don't think. with
Well, they don't
Belichick-
have. They don't. Well, the thing is, they don't have any money, so they can't. They can't sign a guy. The only conceivable one that would make sense is they trade for a guy like Andy Dalton.
So I know somebody brought up Andy Dalton. Hey, you know what? If you take a guy out of the Bengals, he's not as bad as he's.
I actually don't think it would be that bad a move.
no.
No.
I think he'd be pretty good in New England, but
Somebody.
I mean,
I'll give any QB a chance with Belichick.
well, it's
yeah,
more
that's the thing.
Josh McDaniels.
But I mean, just taking the face of that team for 20 years away is just it's step one.
Yeah.
Well, I think the last few years, it's the defense has been the saving grace of that team. Like Brady hasn't had to be godlike to win them games.
No, he was basically carried all of last year.
I think a big part of it too is I think he realized with Gronk gone, and then he's getting older. They didn't want to pay him, and the kicker in all this is New England gets a $13.5 million cap hit added, like it's like dead cap because he voided his they redid his deal so he would become a free agent, and the only benefit for them to sign him was that they could have split that cap hit into 2 years, but now they're on the hook for 13.5. Like 13.5 doesn't get you a quarterback, but it gets you halfway there.
Whoa, gets you quarterback.
It gets you a good starter elsewhere at the very least.
Well, Philip Rivers just got 25 to go to Indy.
Jesus.
Sorry, no, Brady's getting about 30 to go to Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
Bridgewater got 24 guaranteed.
got 20.
He got 20 with 20 guaranteed.
20 over 20 times 3.
Yeah.
I hope he does well because
Nobody.
that's not rooting for Teddy.
But the problem here is
Yeah,
Teddy,
he was on the Jets. He got us a 3rd round pick for literally nothing, and he's a cool guy. I like Teddy.
Yeah, I'm like Teddy Bridgewater. If he can do well, he can do well.
But he's only started 5 games in the last 4 years.
Well, yeah.
That's a lot to commit to a guy
He
who
played
started that
last
well.
year. He played pretty well, I thought.
He was undefeated. I mean, I get it, but it's a lot to pay to a guy that's only played that many games.
Well, and he's had to play it safe too when he was a starter. I mean, Carolina, the benefit is he's got Christian McCaffrey. That's going to be this saving grace.
He's also got Joe Brady, who's calling plays for him, who did a masterful job with Joe Burrow at LSU, and I don't know. I'm really excited to watch how Carolina does. I liked Matt Rule. I did not expect the hire. I thought the contract was ridiculous, but I mean, they got a new owner, David Tepper, who's just. I don't mind guys that are all right with throwing around money, and he obviously did, and he got his 2 guys, and I thought they did a pretty good job in the 2 hires they got, and they'll be a fun team to watch for sure.
So my question is, I think the next shoe to drop is where does Cam Newton go?
I think he goes to the Bears. I think that just makes sense.
A lot of sense. It's hilarious how aggressively the Bears want to get away from Trubisky, and I laugh every single time I hear.
I can't believe they admitted it. I can't believe they finally admitted it. I remember they were playing him last year, and I had Allen Robinson in fantasy, and I'm like, how the fuck is this guy putting up stats? Yeah. Allen Robinson literally had 1,200 yards.
Yeah, I don't know. It was between him and that small guy, Gabriel, and that's it.
Yeah,
Their running backs were
Gabriel.
terrible. They had nothing else. Like that offense.
I mean, their line wasn't great, but they still somehow won 9 games, or 8 or 9. But I don't know. I found it astounding.
So yeah, I think Chicago seems like the most likely destination. Another one I want to know is, what do the Chargers do?
Draft Herbert.
I think they're going to draft a guy, either him or Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not sure what the Dolphins are going to do.
Love.
Yeah, people big fans of Jordan Love. I'm not sure where he'll go, but we'll see.
Like
There's,
Josh Allen
I
in this
mean,
draft, like a guy that's from a small school.
but I think he's
Nevada? Is that right? Not Nevada.
He's Utah State.
Utah State. Like sort of like that idea, like a school that doesn't get a lot of top picks. That's a quarterback who might be good.
Somebody said,
and he's been slowly rising too.
Yeah. I'm also wondering what happens with Derek Carr, because there was
I think
about him.
Yeah,
he's not good, but
it's not like Marcus Mariota is going to push him.
Nah, I mean, I don't know. They're just kind of irrelevant.
The Las Vegas Raiders have been a joke for a while.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting what happens there. The NFL it is really interesting because, I mean, Jake, you pointed this out. The big thing in free agency right now is a lot of corners, corners, safeties, and anyone on the defensive line is getting paid.
Same with offensive linemen.
Yeah. Offensive linemen have always, I think it's been known for a long time that offensive linemen are getting their due. But thing is, though, it's really tough to find really good ones in free agency.
They never hit free agency. That's why.
Yeah.
Usually good players never hit free agency. I mean, they were always saying on I think it might have been Bill Belichick that said that. Or no, it was Bill Parcells who said that. He said, you look at guys that reach free agency and they reached it for a reason. I mean, it's true. I mean, a lot of the really good players, there's a reason why they made it to free agency. I mean, Byron Jones, fantastic player, probably worth around that money. Hasn't he had one pick in like 3 years or something like that?
Yeah, he's been good, but he hasn't been that top. As a Cowboys fan, he didn't justify the money for the Cowboys to spend because he hadn't done enough to deserve it. But the Dolphins, I think he'll do well with the Dolphins. I said as long as he got out of the NFC, I would have been fine with him leaving. But the Cowboys now have to severely address their secondary and pass rush in the draft. I think it helps the Cowboys in that they don't need to worry about their offense because they've got their guys locked up, but they've spent a lot of money on their offense. I mean, I know Zeke restructured his deal. La'el Collins restructured his deal, so that means the Cowboys have a little more cap space. They used part of it on Gerald McCoy, apparently, so yep. I don't know how much more they're going to have to spend. I don't know if they're going to be spending that much. I think they probably want to get another defensive tackle. I think that's been the biggest need of this team, but I'm thankful the NFL has given us something to talk about because otherwise we'd be in really big trouble right now. Like they wanted to suspend the start of the season, like this stuff.
Yeah, I that makes no sense. I mean, literally, none of it is done in person. The only thing that does get done is, press conferences, and I guess sometimes they have to do medicals. But like, this is stuff that all can be done remotely. I mean, NFL Network, I don't know if you guys get the U.S. feed of it, but it's been fantastic. I mean, they've had everybody basically doing it remotely. I mean, NFL Network has had like 8 different FaceTimes open, and it's been fantastic. I'm just thankful that it actually happened because I probably would have gone insane if I didn't get, at least some bit of news, and there has been some pretty big moves that have.
It's not like this we're overblowing. it's not like we're overblowing small news. Like, this is big news.
Yeah, I mean, like all pros have gotten traded. Pro bowlers. I mean,
God, we
I
haven't even
know.
the trades.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Haven't even discussed the trades. We're talking about just free agents, and there was what, three massive trades that happened.
2 in the same day, and then one
Yeah.
yesterday.
Let's talk about the big one and DeAndre Hopkins.
Bill O'Brien, pack your shit.
No, he's not anywhere. I honestly don't know how this
If he was going anywhere, they would have fired him after that collapse against the Chiefs. He's not going anywhere. And the Texans are
don't know. I don't know how you watch him do anything and feel any sense of confidence. I mean, everything he does just seems wrong. And I mean,
poor Deshaun
doesn't help with this. Oh my God, he's got to get the hell out of there. I mean, he's just such an idiot. Like, his nickname is obviously Boob O'Brien, and I still can't believe after the package you saw that the Bills gave up to get Stephon Diggs, who's a way worse player, and they got back what, a 2 and an injured running back?
Often injured running back. Like, if we're talking about David Johnson, who had his career year was close to 2,000 combined yards. Like,
years ago, David Johnson in the second would have been a pretty good haul for.
It would have eased the blow, but now you're just like, you gave up a top 3 receiver.
It wouldn't ease the blow for me, man. I mean, unless I'm getting a guy that makes literally nothing, like a Christian McCaffrey who's got like 3 years left, makes no sense because there is zero value in running backs. I mean, it's sad. I like watching running backs. Some of my favorite players ever are running backs. Like, I loved watching LT, Chris Johnson, Curtis Martin, but just look around. Like, the stat I saw earlier today, which was staggering, is not one running back has signed a free agent deal. Not one.
Oh no, Jordan.
I mean, it's just a fact. Jordan Howard. Okay, so that was the first one.
But it took a long time for him to get signed.
Yeah, these guys don't get paid. I mean, I saw a debate about Ryan Tannehill versus Derrick Henry, and people are, talking about Derrick Henry. It's like, are you really going to give him $20 million a year when he could just fall off a cliff in 2 years? I mean, heck, look what happened with the Cowboys. I mean, I like Ezekiel Elliott. I would never have paid him that money. And I mean, unless I think the only way signing a running back makes sense if they are like a Le'Veon Bell or a Christian McCaffrey, or if they aren't injured, a David Johnson, a guy that can catch 100 balls and is a elite receiver. If a guy can do both those things and also pick up blocks, like, I'm fine with it. But if he's just like a legit runner, a guy that doesn't really catch passes too well, isn't great in run blocking, it just doesn't make any sense because they're so easily replaceable. Like, you can find guys in any round, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, even undrafted players can become Super Bowl MVPs, like a Terrell Davis and stuff like that. It's just Williams. There's no value in the position. Yeah, exactly. Damian Williams.
And Raheem Mostert if the Niners would have won.
Yeah, I mean,
both of them.
They're there's just no value in them. I mean, it's sad. As a fantasy football player, I love running backs, but I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. And to think that not only did they not get a healthy running back, but they also didn't get a healthy running back who has a good deal. Like, his contract was pretty much immovable, and they traded DeAndre Hopkins, one of the 5 best receivers in football, for him, which still doesn't make sense to me.
When he's at top form, he's top 2. Is that a bad assessment?
He's probably
other than Michael
easily
Thomas?
top 3. No, I think I'd rather have Julio Jones than him.
Yeah,
but
fair.
Yeah, he's like, no doubt about it, top 5. You could argue top 3, but yeah, he's amazing.
Who's your top 5 right now in the NFL?
For receivers, Michael Thomas is 1, Julio Jones is 2, I'd go DeAndre Hopkins 3. Trying to think who else is there. I mean, I still love Odell Beckham Jr. I thought the fit was horrendous for him going to the Browns. But I mean, there's like a bunch of guys that are really good football players, especially receivers.
My top 5, just Deebo Samuel, 1 through 5. That's my guy.
Well, see, but the thing with Debo is he's a multi-tool receiver.
He's a stud, man. I love that guy.
So, I think we're learning a lot about some teams just understand where the NFL is going, and other teams just don't get it at all.
Yeah,
at all. So, with that,
maybe Devontae Adams would be up there in the top 5.
Devontae Adams when he's actually getting the ball.
When he's healthy and getting the ball from Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to add tight ends into the mix, I think Travis Kelce's an animal. I think George Kittle's an animal.
Yeah,
I kind of combine the two. I'm just talking about but they're monsters.
Yeah. I think as I said, the NFL is just it's so fascinating. Like usually the offseason doesn't really have a lot of moves like this. I think this is one of the first.
It's changing, right? Like I think what we've seen with these big in-season trades, which I think are so stupid, by the way, is players are sort of trying to model everything after the NBA, and they're trying to, take the power that they have and using their leverage to make a lot of money. I mean, we've seen it with guys like Amari Cooper, Jalen Ramsey's doing it. Tom Brady's doing it. Guys who are withholding their services. If you are good enough, Le'Veon Bell, guys who are withholding their services so they can secure not only the money, which is the most important, but the guaranteed money. And I mean, all these guys are getting monstrous deals that are high guarantees too.
$60 million guaranteed.
You got $100 million. He's a good receiver, but I wouldn't say he's probably a top 10 receiver. Like, what is Michael Thomas going to get?
Yeah.
I know.
He's breaking
truck.
that. Like,
I think the only
for sure.
I think the only thing that makes me okay with the Amari Cooper deal is that he's 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'd rather overpay guys that are younger than guys that are 30. But still, an absurd amount of money. I like Amari Cooper, but yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, $20 million is what, 10% of the cap? In hindsight, it's not really that much money when you see quarterbacks are getting 40. Mahomes might get 50.
I'm worried about Dak right now and what his contract's going to be. He wants the richest deal in NFL history. And I said, you can't. You just can't do that.
The thing that's so idiotic is that that's kind of the way it is. With quarterbacks especially, it's kind of seems like the next deal, the next guy that's up is going to get the next biggest deal.
And what
which I think is a mistake, but that's just the way it is. I mean, Ryan Tannehill got what, $30 million? I like Ryan Tannehill. He won me my fantasy league, but he's not a $30 million guy. He's more of like a $20 to $25 million guy.
Yeah, like Ryan Tannehill's a guy that I put into that conversation. Like you look at what happened with Jared Goff when he got his deal, and
that looks horrible now.
Yeah. Matt Stafford is another guy that I think had a similar thing happen.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
I love him, but Jimmy G's deal is a mess.
Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
they signed that deal when he was recovering from a torn ACL.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think the guaranteed is as bad in Jimmy G's. Like they can get out of that deal pretty easily.
Stafford's is a mess.
Stafford's is bad,
and the Lions don't want to be locked into that.
Well, this is the thing, though.
Cousins. I mean,
there's so many people propping up Dak right now that he feels like he's entitled.
I don't know. For me, he's probably like a top 15 guy. I wouldn't say he's top 5 or top 10. But I mean, again, like quarterback is the hardest thing to find in pro sports.
Yeah.
And if you have one of those guys, you just have to. That's just the way it is. There isn't any negotiation. I mean, we saw that with Kirk Cousins, who got almost a fully guaranteed contract, and he's bang average.
I think he got what 33. What was his new deal at now? His report deal is like 33 million.
I don't even know. I remember his first one was like 3 years, 100 million, and it was fully guaranteed or some absurd number. And I mean, it just made me look at what are guys who are legitimate game changers, like Mahomes, Watson, Lamar Jackson. Like, what are these guys gonna get? And I mean, it's absurd.
Like some people are just like, if Dak really wanted to, he could wait a year, see what those guys are getting, and try to push himself to get more. If on the Cowboys, you got to try to get the long-term deal done now.
Yeah, there's no. That's the thing with quarterbacks. Like, the longer you wait, the more expensive it's getting. It's like in hockey. Like, if you have, like we were talking about this with guys like Matthews and McDavid, it's like just do it as quick as possible. Do not let them. If you believe they are your guys, don't wait. Like, it makes no sense. You're never saving any money because you have no leverage.
No, none whatsoever. So, with that being said, thank you to the NFL for giving us something to talk about. We're going to get into stuff that's not so fun, which is we have 3 leagues right now. Well, 3 Toronto teams that are basically wondering what's going to happen with their season. You got the Leafs, the Raptors, and the Blue Jays. This is frustrating on a lot of levels. I totally get it. Which of those 3 teams do you think is going to be impacted the most by what's happening with the coronavirus?
It's a good question.
Maybe.
I don't really think any of them are going to be like negatively impacted. I don't think any of them will be negatively impacted.
But money-wise, I'm thinking more of just the optics of what's going on. I'm not talking about like the money because we know all the I mean, the Blue Jays would probably be the most likely answer because they rely on revenue from just many sources. But I'm thinking about the optics of like if this drags out longer, who does it impact the most?
Probably the Leafs. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, if the NBA canceled their season, if I'm a Raptors fan, like, yeah, it would kind of stink, but I would not care. I mean, you're probably getting they have so many guys that are coming up for paydays, probably not going to cost as much. You get Giannis, does not get a shot at reaching a title. The Clippers don't have a chance of reaching the title because there isn't a title. And I mean, the big thing is you're also moving closer towards more and more pressure on the Bucks. And if there's a chance that he leaves, imagine how much pressure is on them next year because he's not signing. Like, we all agree he's not signing this offseason. It makes no sense. They were saying, like, even if he wants to stay with the Bucks, it makes no sense for him to sign it because the same deal is going to be there exactly 1 year later. So he's not going to sign it. But think about the pressure they have if they don't have a chance at reaching a finals or anything like that. I mean, it just keeps putting these thoughts in this guy's head. I think he inevitably leaves because I don't see the Bucks as a team that can win a championship. I just from what I saw last year, their supporting cast folded, and I think Giannis sort of folded too in that series. But I mean, I think it works out perfectly for the Raptors. I think the Leafs, they're pretty injured. I mean, they've had a bunch of guys who have been battling injuries. They've been battling inconsistency, and I think it would actually kind of help them where they'd be able to, settle in with a coach that, didn't have a training camp or anything. They have a lot of guys going through things. They would obviously get Muzzin back. They'd get Mikheyev back. It would help them. I mean, I actually don't think this is a bad thing for any of the teams at all.
So the question I have is, between the NBA and the NHL, which of the 2 leagues do you think will try its hardest to get the season done?
The NHL, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I think both have pretty big pressure on them. I mean, I know for a fact ESPN is definitely trying to get the NBA going, considering it's easily their biggest property and how much money they put into it. But the NHL is really close to a new TV deal. I mean, it expires after next year. So you want to try and get the best ratings you can. I mean, with the way it's shaped out, you got big markets that are really good out east and a couple of big markets that are good out west. Maybe you want to try and get good ratings because last year's Stanley Cup final ratings were fantastic. I think they were the highest they've been in 15 or 20 years or something like that. So if they could replicate that success, it would look really good for, finding potential partners. I kind of think that they're going to go back with NBC, but, that's big for them. And also, just the negotiations with the salary cap. Obviously, we know here that, a bunch of teams are getting squeezed. Somehow Arizona is getting even worse squeezed than the Leafs. But, it would have a negative effect on them for sure if the cap stagnates again.
So Austin, you brought this up, the 24 team playoff thing that was proposed.
Yep.
I honestly think the NHL will have to figure out a way to minimize the impact of maybe shortening the regular season. I don't know if they're going to change the playoff format at all in terms of maybe shorten a couple of series, but if they really want to get this done, they can't just say, all right, playoffs are happening. They have to do something.
Gary Bettman is essentially right now just putting out, like, he's trying to outsmart everyone with this playoff format, I think, and Gary Bettmanized this whole thing like he did with the stupid playoff format currently. And it just looks like absolute crap, to be honest. The basis for it is, I don't know, because it was a very vague tweet. I believe it was Igor Aranko put it out. Just said 24 teams. It didn't say whether it was the 24 best overall teams or 12 per division conference. Excuse me. But like, if it's 24 overall, then it's literally any team that has over 70 points makes it in. Like, that's not teams that are like, there's not 24 teams that are right on the cusp or on a wild card chase. There's probably, outside of the top 8 in each respective conference, there's 4 or 5 teams maybe that are on the cusp.
I'm gonna actually look at this right now,
but like some of those are like they need everything to go right in order for them to make the playoffs.
The threshold should be around 80 points right now, which I'm sure would include maybe 20 teams.
If we're going off the top, maybe 24 overall, Montreal is the last seed, and they have 72 points with 13 games to go. It makes no sense.
Bad. I mean, that's the big difference between the NHL and the NBA. I mean, the NBA, let's admit it, every seed is done. The only thing that is up for grabs is seeding within the top 8 teams. I mean, out west, there's like a chance 4 teams are fighting for the 8th spot. 2 through 7's done. Then the East, 1 through 8's done. So 1 is done. 7 and 8 are interchangeable. 2 and 3 interchangeable. 4, 5, 6 interchangeable. But they're all pretty much done. We know the 8 teams that are going to be in. It's just all based on seeding. So it doesn't really matter there. Meanwhile, in the NHL, there's so much jockeying for positions. I mean, there is, like, legitimately teams could win the Pacific. Like, I think if the Leafs were in the Pacific, they'd be, like, 2 points off the lead or something like that. So that's completely up for grabs. I mean, the only one that are pretty much gone are the top 3 in the Metro, the Blues, and the top 3 in the Central, the top 3 in the Metro, and the top 2 in the Atlantic.
Yep.
So I got the everything up right now. The Leafs have 81 points. So if we went with that 80 threshold, I even think what the NHL should do is cut it off at, like, for the wild card, top 4 teams have to battle in to get into the play, like those final 2 spots.
Yeah, do a play-in. That's fine. MLB does it.
The reason why? I mean, the problem here is because Florida has 78 points and the Rangers have 79. But Rangers 79, Islanders 80, Columbus and Carolina both have 81. You could easily have, and like Columbus and Carolina would get the home game advantage. And then you have the West, the 4 teams, Minnesota 77, Vancouver 78, Nashville 78, Winnipeg 80. Like, you have 4 teams right there that are pretty much They're right at each other. So why not have those 4 teams play? And this is something Pierre LeBrun, I think, and even Ellie Freeman brought up as like a casual thing for the NHL to do. Like have those teams like do like a play-in to get into the playoffs. I think that would be a true wild card format where you have those 2 teams play each other, or those 4 teams play each other. Whoever wins the 2 wild card spots between the 4 teams, and then you get to start your playoffs. I mean, it's an imperfect situation. I know that they want to try their best to get a full playoff done. I just don't know how you do it without shaving some sort of some part of the regular season, because a lot of teams still have about 12, 13 games left. You can't just squeeze those in relatively quickly.
No. You can't play a bunch of back-to-backs or do any of that, because then you risk injury going into playoffs, and then that's an unfair advantage for teams.
But then again, you also can't just completely jump into playoffs. Everybody would be so rusty.
Yeah.
I think the sweet spot would be like 75 games, where everybody would get maybe 3 to 5 games or 5 to 7, depending on certain teams. But I don't know. Everybody always talks about imperfect solutions for imperfect problems. This is one of them. I mean, what was the last time this happened? Wasn't it the Spanish flu in 1919 or something like that?
How many NHL?
So I mean,
in that time.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there is no perfect solution.
So my issue here too is, Jake, in the States, they were saying 8 weeks of no gatherings of 50 plus people. That's puts you.
Yeah, that was May 1st. I thought it was.
Like, that's significant, because the NHL, outside of the 7 Canadian teams, it's established in the States. Like, you can't just be like, okay, well, the Canadian teams can start earlier. No, because you need American teams to be ready to go. So,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting you bring that up. I saw, I think it was Insider Trading who somehow managed to put together a fun little panel of everybody in their own specific spots. But they had a proposal that the players, the NHLPA, gave them, which basically I think it had the season starting in June and July, I think it was, or training camp in early June, and then they had playoffs. Yeah, they had training camp early July, the season finishing in late July, then playoffs August, September, draft free agency being in October, and then the 2021 season beginning in November. So it would be like a super sped up process. But I mean, if it's something that was proposed by the players, I think that seems a little short of a layoff. But they were talking about it. Actually, a lot of American owners like the idea, because as long as they're avoiding football, I think it would be better for most of the Southern American teams and other ones. But I don't know. It's an interesting proposal, but I don't know how realistic it is to have the season completely finished.
I don't like them condensing free agency into a single month, because I think that puts a lot of players in a really bad spot. But
I mean, if you're an NHL
signing deals out of necessity rather than finding the best fit.
Well, the problem is a lot of free agents just are going to lose out on money now.
Yeah, exactly.
If and we're going to get into this now. If the cap, let's say the NHL says the cap is not going up, it's staying at 81.5. Somebody mentioned, even if it goes down, maybe the NHL will have to implement like what they did after they came out of the lockout shortened season, which was teams get a compliance buyout. So,
that actually wouldn't be a good decision, unfortunately. Actually, in that case, the Leafs would probably be able to use that. They'd probably be able to gain some assets from it. So, I don't think it's the worst idea, but we'll see.
I just think people are just like, oh, when's it going to start? When's it going to happen? No one knows, guys. No one knows. The only thing
that's the thing. There's no real set timetable for it to come back. Like it's indefinite. like it's indefinitely suspended. The NBA as well. And now I think the biggest thing for them is they're being or super conservative with the dates because they don't want you especially fans. You don't want them to wait for or come back in 6 weeks. It's too early, and then they find out somebody has got a case because then
And then
it's
they have to
done.
do it again.
Then it's done
Yeah.
for another 4 months. So you'd rather be for sure that take off 2 months and then come back at it in June, then come back in April, and then you find out someone else has a case of it. I mean, obviously we've seen it's actually finally reached the NHL with a guy from the Senators getting it, but I mean that would be disastrous. That's what the NBA has been saying. They just need to make sure that nobody is going to get it in certain times, and I mean we have no idea. I mean the U.S. government still doesn't have timetables on when testing is going to be properly released. So I mean it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of the way it is right now. We don't even know when us civilians are going to be able to leave our houses.
Yeah, it's a weird time to just do anything. I don't really want to talk. I like focusing on the sports aspect of this thing. Obviously, there's not a lot to talk about with sports, but I'd be stupid to try and talk about how the virus is affecting the world and stuff like that because I'm not an expert on that kind of stuff. So
No.
it sucks for us as sports fans, but I mean,
Sports will eventually come back. They're not done forever.
They're not important right now.
No, the right thing was done. This is the most important.
Correct.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like you have, I understand the want to be selfish, but I'm gonna point to my Italian flag right now. Okay.
Yeah. Disaster.
I have family in the southern part of Italy where, it's usually not highly frequented during this time. People from the north, because the north part of Italy was the big problem.
Yeah.
People were we're escaping to the south. And then what happens when that happens? It spreads. Like in around where my mom's family is from, it's a very small town. They said they had about 60 cases in that area, which might not sound like a lot, but I'm talking about like the size of like the population sizes of like Oshawa, even less than Oshawa.
We're not talking like Toronto where it's 6 million people.
No,
it's like a couple.
Even then, like starts with 60, then it gets to 150, then it gets to 300, then it gets to 600, and that's just how these things go. What's the whole saying? It's like slow yield the curve. That's it.
Also, to the people who are posting on, especially on their TikToks, the stupid coronavirus stuff, like licking.
I don't mind some of them.
Somebody licked a toilet seat yesterday.
Yeah. I don't get that. I mean,
no,
you should just jump out of a plane at that point.
Like, I wouldn't even do that regardless of a virus. What the hell is wrong with you?
I wouldn't even do it if I just saw them make the toilet seat.
No.
You couldn't pay me any amount of money to do that. None.
No.
It's burned into your brain I hope that person, I don't know who it is, I would just constantly be spamming that video and saying, I hope this lives in your nightmares.
That should be like as a rule, if she's trying to like be with somebody in an intimate relationship, that should be shown to them as they come in.
No, at their wedding when they say, does anybody object? So everybody should just be like, yep.
Just hold up a phone.
Exhibit A to the priest. They're just like, yeah, this can't happen.
Felix toilet seats. Enjoy your first kiss. And then just walk out. It's just gross. People are the worst. Also, just the biggest thing is social distancing, and people aren't taking it seriously enough, honestly.
No.
And
there's
in China, there was 15 cases or something, 10 cases all of last week. Like they're shutting down the short-term hospitals in Wuhan and in China, apparently, from where This started allegedly. Well, not allegedly.
Well, the
but-
thing is, it's like the
Sorry, I
problem.
say allegedly because somebody used the phrase Chinese flu today.
Yeah, we know who.
Yeah, we know who that somebody is. We're just not going to name names. But he is not a smart human.
Let's just say over here we looked. I mean, I just remember when the first case was positive in Canada, and we're just like, oh, let's make sure this person's in isolate. It's quarantine. We'll keep that person quarantined. Problem is, it didn't really take many measures to prevent it otherwise. Not until like I understand the impact it can have, but in these situations, I guess the best thing you can do is be overly cautious. And I guess now we just have to wait and see, guys. I mean, today I cleaned my office. I feel good now because it was really I just was not happy with how it is. But now tomorrow I got to figure out what else to do. Like I know I can watch stuff on Netflix, I can watch TV, but
Basically, just catch up on shows, pick a couple series, and just get going. I can finally watch The Irishman.
well, I already did.
Yeah, all 3 hours of it. It will only take up
Yeah.
an eighth of your day.
Yeah.
I actually the one thing I do want to do is I want to read Steve's book. I haven't opened it yet, so
It is a good read. I read it on my way to work over the summer, over the course of like 2 months because I read slowly.
yeah. So, man, guys, all I'm gonna say is I hope you all stay safe. Jake, don't get arrested. For
I'll try not to.
try not to be a rebel out there. But we will hopefully the next time we talk there'll be some more things to discuss. We'll kind of take it by how much stuff has happened between now and next week. If we have to maybe do it on every other week, we will just see how the situation unfolds. Right now, we can't say. Even luckily, we had stuff to talk about today. Like if we tried to do it earlier, this would have been a tough show to do. It would have been a really tough show to do.
This would have been an entire episode of Jake watching TikToks.
Yeah.
Would have.
No offense, Jake. It would not have been any fun.
No.
But maybe we'll have to figure out other things to do. The unfortunate part is I do not own an Xbox. Otherwise, we could have done something there. But I do not own an Xbox.
Disappointing.
Just the way it goes, guys. It's the way it goes.
Way she goes, fellas.
But we'll definitely we'll try to do more coming up. I know that other places are trying to figure out things to talk about. We'll try to do some on our end too. We won't let you down completely. That's for sure. So, Austin, Jake, thank you again for your time.
Stay safe, everyone, too.
Yep. And also, I have my St. Patrick's jersey on.
For St. Patrick's Day, yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to anybody who is of Irish descent or just
Thanks, man.
But, man, I do feel bad for you guys. You didn't get to do your celebrations. I know probably some people...
Oh, I thought you meant because I had an Irish background.
No. Do
wow.
you have... No, well...
Part Irish.
You can't drink, so...
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm a shitty Irishman anyway.
We're not all perfect. I don't know what to tell you. But we will catch you guys on the flip side.